Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and drop a comment about what you thought of this story. I'd already started quietly gathering proof of what was really going on, though I hadn't said a word about it to anyone yet. My name's Grace. This whole mess kicked off because my boyfriend and my younger sister had dated for less time than some people keep leftovers in the fridge. Sounds like the kind of thing a person should know before getting serious with someone, right? Trust me, I agree. The problem was, neither of us had a clue. I'd moved back to the city after 2 years chasing a relationship in some small town, one that ended so badly I still can't hear the words fresh start without wanting to throw something across the room. I came back with 2 suitcases, a gutted savings account, and enough embarrassment to skip most family gatherings for months. My parents treated my return like proof they'd been right all along. Irritating. But I needed a place to crash while I job hunted, so I smiled, swallowed it. Eventually, I landed a receptionist job at a small outpatient clinic. Nothing glamorous, stable though. I answered phones, checked people in, wrestled insurance forms, spent half my day explaining that showing up 40 minutes late wasn't a personal betrayal by the doctor. Honestly, after the chaos of my last relationship, predictable complaints felt like a vacation. Every morning before work, same coffee shop, same bus stop. That's where I met him. He worked building maintenance for an office complex a few blocks over, always there in work boots, gripping the same plain black coffee like it was the only thing keeping him upright. We started talking because the bus was late again, and he made some crack about the route being scheduled by someone who hated the working class. I laughed harder than the joke deserved. He noticed. After that, we kept running into each other. Small talk at first, the packed bus, a show we both watched, a bakery window full of things neither of us could afford until payday. Then he started saving me a seat when the place got crowded. I started ordering his drink if I got there first. A month in, he asked me to dinner. I said yes, then walked straight into the clinic bathroom and stared at myself like I'd just agreed to a hostage exchange. Dating him came easy, easier than I trusted at first. He didn't push when I went quiet. Didn't turn every disagreement into a loyalty test, fixed little things around my apartment without expecting worship in return. He had flaws, sure, stubborn when he thought he was being practical, shut down the second things got too emotional, had this habit of saying I'm fine with the face of a man planning to move into the woods. Still, kind, steady, normal. And normal was addictive to me by then. I'd told him I had sisters, didn't say much about them. My older sister and I were close. My other sister, the quiet one, stayed out of drama on principle. My younger sister and I, always complicated. Sensitive, my mom called her. Dramatic, said my older sister. Exhausting, I called her, on my less charitable days. He mentioned he'd briefly dated someone off an app a few months before he met me. Less than 2 months, never got serious, ended because he didn't feel the spark he wanted. I didn't ask for photos. He didn't offer any. Adults have a past. I was working hard at being mature about that. The name he gave me was common enough to mean nothing. My younger sister went by our mother's last name socially, while I used our father's. Whole family story there. A separation when we were teenagers, hurt feelings, paperwork nobody bothered fixing later. At the time, none of it seemed to matter. We dated almost a year before I brought him to Christmas dinner. I still want to grab my past self by the shoulders over that decision. He had to work part of the holiday, a burst pipe in one of his office buildings, so he was running late. I showed up alone, carrying a dessert I'd bought and transferred into my own dish, so I'd get credit I hadn't earned. My older sister was already there with her husband. My quiet sister was setting the table. My younger sister was on the couch, scrolling her phone, complaining the heat was up too high. My mom asked to see pictures of him. I handed over my phone without thinking twice. She swiped through a few, made a pleased little sound, passed it to my dad. The phone made its way around the table like some kind of family exhibit. My younger sister barely glanced up until my quiet sister held the phone out to her. Then her whole face changed. Completely. The color drained from her cheeks, her mouth went tight, and she looked at me like I'd walked into the house wearing her skin. Come with me. Not a question. She grabbed my wrist and hauled me toward the kitchen. I yanked my arm back. I hate being dragged anywhere, especially by family. What's wrong with you? Her voice dropped, but the anger was already shaking through it. That's him. I stared at her. That's who? The guy I dated. For a second, my brain just refused to process the sentence. I actually glanced back toward the living room, like there might be some other man hiding in the photo. What guy? She gave me a look of pure disbelief. The guy who dumped me, the one I told Mom about. She'd told our mother, not me. That distinction mattered to me. Apparently not to her. I asked how long they'd dated. Almost 2 months? I asked if it had been serious. Not the point, she said. I asked if they were still in contact. She snapped that he'd ended it and disappeared. Disappeared? I said. Or stopped contacting you after ending the relationship? She looked like she wanted to slap me. You always do that. Do what? Make everything sound reasonable so you can pretend nobody else has feelings. That was unfair? And because it was unfair, it landed exactly where she knew it would. Before I could answer, the front door opened. My boyfriend walked in with a bottle of wine, apologizing for being late. Tired, cold, completely unaware he'd just stepped into a room where his romantic history was sitting next to the mashed potatoes. Then he saw my sister. He stopped. Not long, maybe a second. But I saw it. He looked at her, then at me, said my name carefully. My chest went hot. She told me, I said. Everyone went silent. My dad was still holding my phone. My older sister's husband suddenly found the dinner rolls fascinating. My boyfriend set the wine down. I didn't know you were sisters. My younger sister let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Of course you didn't. He looked at me again. Do you want me to leave? That question saved him, honestly. If he'd gotten defensive, laughed it off, acted annoyed with me, the night might have gone very differently. Instead, he looked genuinely sick about the whole thing. I wanted him to stay, partly because I believed him, and partly because my sister was watching me like she expected me to hand something over. That second reason wasn't noble. I know that. It was still true. No, I said. Stay. Dinner was miserable. My mother kept forcing cheerful conversation, which only made it worse. My father talked too loud about work. My younger sister barely touched her plate. My boyfriend answered every question politely while looking like he'd rather crawl into a sewer line with his bare hands. Later, I pulled him into the hallway by the laundry room. Who ended it? I did. Why? He dragged a hand down his face, because there was no way around it. She wanted more. I didn't. Were you still talking when you met me? No. Did you know her last name? The one she uses? Yeah. Not yours. Did she ever show you pictures of us? Not that I remember. Grace, I swear I had no idea. I believed him. I hated how fast I believed him. Part of me worried that made me disloyal to my sister, but I did. My mother overheard enough of that conversation to corner me later while I packed up leftovers. She's always been more sensitive about rejection. I looked at her. How does me dating someone months after they broke up become something I did to her? That's not what I said. It's what you meant. My mother sighed, already tired of me, even though the argument had barely started. You're the mature one. I'm asking you to act like it. That sentence should have warned me. It wasn't new. Basically our family motto. Be mature, be understanding, be the example. In our house, those words usually meant one thing. Give your sister what she wants, and don't embarrass your mother by objecting. After Christmas, my younger sister stopped speaking to me unless she had to. Skipped my birthday dinner, ignored the family group chat. Once left my parents' house 10 minutes after I got there. My mother called it proof of how deeply hurt she was. My older sister called it emotional blackmail. I tried not to call it anything, still foolishly hoping it would burn itself out. My relationship kept moving forward anyway. He met my friends, I met his family. We signed a lease together when my rent went up. First week living together, we had a ridiculous fight over where to keep the cleaning supplies. It lasted an hour and ended with the two of us laughing, because neither of us actually cared about the cleaning supplies. That was the kind of conflict I understood. Two tired people being annoying, then getting over it. The family conflict was different. Nothing ended, it just waited. A few months later, my boyfriend planned a dinner with both families. He told me it was to celebrate a promotion at work. I believed him. Apparently, I'm very easy to distract with pasta. My younger sister came, which surprised me. She barely acknowledged us, but sat next to my mother and stayed almost pleasant through the appetizers. I remember thinking maybe time had helped. That thought feels almost cute now. After dinner, my boyfriend stood up. His hands were shaking. I thought he was about to give some little speech about work until he walked around the table and knelt beside my chair. I covered my mouth. Everyone reacted at once. His mother started crying immediately. My older sister made a sound like she'd been waiting for this moment longer than I had. Then my younger sister shot to her feet so fast her chair scraped across the floor. Are you serious? The room went quiet. My boyfriend was still down on one knee, ring box open. I looked from him to her, unable to understand why she was making any sound at all. She pointed at him. After everything, you're doing this in front of me? My face started burning. Sit down. No, this is humiliating. For who? My older sister asked. My younger sister looked straight at me. You knew how I felt. And you knew this dinner wasn't about you, I said. That's when she started crying, loud and furious, the exact combination that always sent my mother rushing over. My mother stood up, but my older sister got there first and took our younger sister by the arm. Outside. I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one. They left the dining room while everyone else stared at me. I wish I could say I stayed focused on the man kneeling beside me with a ring. I didn't. I was staring at the doorway, shaking with rage and shame. The whole room felt contaminated. My boyfriend slowly stood up. His mother came closer and quietly asked whether everything was okay, whether there was something about the situation he didn't know. She wasn't accusing me. That almost made it worse. She looked worried for her son, which was fair. And I suddenly felt like my own family had turned me into a suspect. I asked my boyfriend to come outside with me, but we went around the far side of the building so he wouldn't run into my sister. In the parking lot, he put the ring box back in his pocket. I'm sorry, I said. You didn't do that. I brought you into this. He looked exhausted. Grace, I need to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. My stomach dropped. He took both my hands. After all of this, do you still want to marry me? It wasn't the proposal he'd planned. No cheering crowd, no dramatic kneeling, no perfect photo. We were standing near a dumpster while a delivery truck backed up somewhere behind us. Yes, I said. I do. He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for months. Then he pulled the ring out again and slid it onto my finger. I cried. He cried a little too, and denied it later. We kissed in a parking lot that smelled faintly of old onions. Somehow that felt more real than the dinner ever could have. My sister never apologized. For weeks she skipped every family gathering. My mother kept saying she needed time. My father said nothing, which was his favorite way of participating in conflict. Then, about 2 months later, my younger sister sent me a message. She said she knew she'd ruined the proposal and wanted to apologize in person. She invited my boyfriend and me to dinner at her apartment. I stared at that message so long the screen went dark. My boyfriend said no immediately. My older sister thought we should go. She owes you an apology, she said, and if this isn't settled before the wedding, Mom will make it your problem forever. That prediction turned out to be right, though going to dinner didn't prevent it. I told my boyfriend I wanted to try just once. He agreed, because he loved me and because neither of us understood yet how committed my sister was to making a point. When we got there, I realized she'd also invited our parents and our older sister. She said she wanted to apologize in front of the whole family, so no one could twist it later. My quiet sister had refused to come. I was irritated she hadn't warned us, but leaving right away would have caused another scene, so we stayed. Dinner started out normal. Too normal. She'd cleaned the apartment, cooked a full meal, even bought the dessert I liked. She asked about the wedding venue, complimented my ring without touching it. My boyfriend stayed polite, but guarded. I kept waiting for the apology. It didn't come during dinner, it came after dessert, and it wasn't an apology at all. My sister set down her fork. I keep thinking about what you told me. My boyfriend looked at her. What did I tell you? That you didn't see us becoming serious? He glanced at me, then back at her. You said that when we broke up, but with her, you knew. No, he said. I got to know her. My sister laughed softly. Right, so what exactly does she offer that I didn't? My whole body went tight. This isn't an apology. I'm trying to understand. No, I said. You're trying to make him compare us. She ignored me, eyes fixed on him. If I offered you exactly what she's offering right now, would you still choose her? He pushed his chair back slightly. I'm not answering that. Why not? Because it's inappropriate. She stood. I thought she was about to storm off. Instead, she reached into her sweater pocket and pulled out a small ring. My brain took a second to catch up. When it did, I genuinely wondered if I'd fallen asleep at the table and slipped into some kind of stress dream. She came around and knelt in front of him. Then choose, she said. My boyfriend shot up so fast his chair hit the wall. Get up. She held the ring out. Just answer. No. The word came out flat, final, immediate. She flinched anyway. I came around the table. Furious, humiliated, not thinking straight, I told her to get up. She looked at me and said, scared he'll hesitate? I shoved her shoulder, not hard, but she was kneeling, off balance. She tipped sideways, caught herself against the couch. The room exploded. My mother screamed my name. My father stood. My older sister swore. My boyfriend grabbed my arm and pulled me back. The second I saw my sister on the floor, I knew I'd crossed a line. I also still wanted to scream at her. Not a flattering combination of feelings. "I'm sorry I pushed you," I said, breathing hard. "But what is wrong with you?" My mother rushed over and crouched beside my sister like I'd thrown her down a flight of stairs. My father started toward us, then stopped dead in the middle of the room, caught between his wife and me. In the end, he followed my boyfriend and me into the hallway, while my mother stayed with my sister. That split said more than anything anyone shouted that night. In the car, my boyfriend went quiet. I wanted him to tell me I'd been justified. He didn't. "You can't put your hands on her," he finally said. "I know. She was completely out of line." "I know, but you can't do that." "I know," I snapped, then started crying because I hated that he was right, and hated even more that being right didn't make me feel any less betrayed. A few days later, my older sister set up a conversation at her place, said she'd be there to stop anyone from throwing furniture or proposing to an unwilling audience. I laughed, then felt guilty for laughing. My boyfriend came because I asked him to. My younger sister showed up late. Arms folded, I apologized first. "I shouldn't have pushed you. I was angry. That doesn't make it okay." She gave one nod. No apology back. My older sister looked at her. "Your turn." My younger sister stared at the floor. I didn't actually think he'd say yes. "That helps so much," I said. I wanted to see if he'd hesitate. My boyfriend leaned forward. "Why?" Her eyes filled up. But this time, she wasn't performing it. She looked genuinely ashamed. "Because with me, you said you weren't looking for anything serious. Then a few months later, you're serious with her? Moving in with her, proposing. It made me feel like I was good enough to pass the time with, and she was good enough to choose." For the first time, I understood a piece of what was underneath all of it. Understanding didn't make the behavior okay, but it made it human. My boyfriend answered carefully. "I didn't date Grace to hurt you. I didn't know she was your sister. What happened between us was brief, and ending it didn't give either of us permanent rights over the other person's life." My sister wiped her face. "I know that logically." "Not emotionally," my older sister said. She gave a small, bitter laugh. "Apparently not." I asked what she wanted now. She looked at me a long moment. "I don't think I should come to the wedding." That surprised me. I'd braced for a demand to be included, not an admission she couldn't handle it. "Is that what you want?" I asked. "Yes, I don't trust myself to sit there and be normal." It hurt, but it was honest. "Okay," I said. My mother later acted like I'd been the one to ban her. The wedding invitation problem went public at my quiet sister's birthday dinner. She'd picked a casual restaurant and made one request beforehand. No fighting. That should tell you everything you need to know about birthdays in my family. For most of the meal, we actually managed it. My younger sister wasn't there, claimed a headache. I suspected the headache was me, but I kept that to myself. My mother asked about flowers. My older sister talked dresses. My father tried to calculate how many people would fit at each table, though nobody had asked him to. Then, my mother said, "I assume your sister's formal invitation is going out with the others?" I set down my glass. "No." The table went quiet. My mother blinked. "What do you mean, no?" "She decided she's not coming." She said that while she was upset. She said it during a calm conversation, and you just accepted it? I stared at her. What exactly was I supposed to do? Drag her down the aisle behind me? My quiet sister whispered, "Please." It was her birthday. The guilt hit me immediately. I lowered my voice. My mother didn't. "You're the older one. You're getting married. You have everything you want. You could show some grace." There it was again. The mature one, the lucky one, the daughter who supposedly had so much that any hurt done to her became affordable. My sister got on one knee and proposed to my fiancé in front of me. She was emotional. So was I. You didn't seem impressed by that. My mother's face hardened. You pushed her. And apologized. An apology doesn't erase it. Interesting. My older sister kicked me under the table before I could make it worse. I ignored her, already too angry to be my own best advocate. My quiet sister put both hands flat on the table. "Can we not turn my birthday into another meeting about her?" Everyone stopped. She rarely raised her voice. My mother looked offended, like peace had been personally promised to her and then taken back. My quiet sister turned to me. "I love you, I support you, but I'm asking everyone to stop, right now." I apologized. My father changed the subject. The rest of dinner limped along until dessert, and I went home feeling like I'd ruined someone else's night, even though I hadn't started the fight. That was another family specialty. My mother struck the match, and I got blamed for the smoke. Over the next few days, she called, repeatedly. Family should come before misunderstandings, she said. She called the proposal incident a misunderstanding, like my sister had accidentally dropped to one knee while tying her shoe. People would talk, she said, if one of my sisters missed the wedding. How would I explain it to relatives? I told her the truth would probably do the job. That didn't go over well. I suggested she talk directly to my younger sister and ask if she actually wanted to come. My mother never did that. She kept calling me instead. Eventually, the extended family got involved. Aunts I heard from twice a year sent messages about forgiveness. A cousin told me my mother was heartbroken. Several relatives on her side said they wouldn't come if my younger sister was excluded. I corrected them at first. She'd chosen not to attend. They didn't care. The story had already been rewritten into something easier to judge. My father's side mostly backed me. My older and quiet sisters confirmed they were coming. My boyfriend's family stayed out of it, though I could tell his mother was worried the wedding would turn into another public scene. Then the guest count dropped low enough to create a real financial problem. We'd booked a mid-sized venue and paid a deposit tied to a minimum guest count. With so many people pulling out, keeping the venue stopped making sense. Canceling meant losing part of the deposit, and that wasn't pocket change to us. It was money we'd been counting on for emergencies. Even after eating that loss, canceling still worked out cheaper than covering the venue's full contracted minimum. My boyfriend sat at the kitchen table with the budget pulled up and said, "We should think about postponing." What I heard was, "I don't want to marry you." That wasn't what he said, wasn't even close, but I was raw, humiliated, terrified my family had finally worn him down. You want to postpone because of them? I want to postpone because we're losing money we can't easily replace. So they get what they want. This isn't about winning. It feels like it is. He leaned back and rubbed his eyes. Grace? Going ahead exactly as planned when the numbers don't work isn't bravery. It's irresponsible. That word landed hard. Irresponsible. It sounded like my mother. It sounded like every time I'd been told I was failing to manage somebody else's feelings correctly. I knew this would happen, I said. What would happen? You deciding my family's too much. He looked at me. Your family is too much. That doesn't mean you are. I stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. That is not better. We fought for 3 days, not nonstop, obviously. We went to work, sat through tense dinners, slept facing opposite directions, and restarted the same argument every time one of us made the mistake of breathing with an attitude. At one point, he said he'd lost confidence my family would respect the ceremony. I accused him of wanting to hide from them. He accused me of treating financial caution like betrayal. I said he was shutting down. He said I was hearing only what I feared. He was right about that, which made me even angrier. On the third night, he put every account statement on the table. No more vague fighting, he said. Look. So I looked. The deposit we'd lose, the moving costs still hanging over from combining apartments, the medical bill he was paying down, my small student loan, what was actually left after ordinary expenses. He tapped the numbers. I want to marry you. I don't care if it happens in that venue or somebody's backyard. I care that we don't start married life pretending money isn't real. I sat there, ashamed. I thought you were backing away. I'm trying to stand next to you without walking us off a financial cliff. Annoyingly reasonable. We decided against postponing and picked a smaller venue instead. Simplify everything, absorb the lost deposit, stop making decisions based on who might get offended. Around then, the clinic announced a new location opening a few hours away and asked staff to flag interest in transferring. I glanced at the notice, dismissed it, moving, felt dramatic, expensive, unnecessary. Still, I took a picture of it. I called my younger sister once more, asked if she was sure about missing the wedding. Yes. Her voice sounded worn out. I'm not asking you to change anything. Mom says you are. Mom says a lot of things. Have you told her that? She doesn't listen when the answer isn't useful. That sentence stuck with me. My mother's next move proved it. One afternoon, she showed up at our place, assuming we were both at work. My boyfriend had actually taken the afternoon off for an appointment that got canceled last minute, so he was home when she knocked. She said she wanted to talk privately. He let her stand in the entryway, but wouldn't discuss me without me there. She said she was only trying to prevent a family tragedy. He said a wedding invitation wasn't a tragedy. She told him he had more sense than I did and should convince me to invite my sister. He told her, again, that my sister had chosen not to come. My mother said that's what Grace claims. That was when his patience ran out. He told her to leave. Instead, she accused him of controlling me, said I'd changed since meeting him, said I'd never been this cruel to family before. He opened the door, asked her to go. She kept talking. He stepped outside, repeated that the conversation was over, went back in, closed the door. My mother stood on the porch for several minutes, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, before finally leaving. When he called me, he sounded shaken, furious. I don't want contact with any of them anymore. Any of them? Your family? My older sister didn't do this, neither did my quiet sister. I don't care. I'm done. Wrong thing to say to me. I told him he didn't get to erase the people who'd actually supported me just because he was angry at my mother. He said he was tired of waiting for the next one of them to become a messenger. I said he was generalizing. He said maybe generalizing was safer. We almost slid into another 3-day fight. Then he stopped, took a breath. You're right. I'm angry. I'm putting all of them in the same box. That mattered, not because it fixed anything, but because he could admit when his anger made him unfair. In my family, that was basically a superpower. I called my mother, told her she was never to go near him without me again. She said she'd only been trying to help. You showed up at our home when you thought I wouldn't be there. I don't know his schedule. You knew mine? She went quiet. If you contact him privately again, I stop responding to you. Her voice turned cold. So, this is where we are now. No, this is where you brought us? I stopped answering her daily messages after that. At first, the silence felt peaceful, then it felt wrong. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the next one. When none came, I felt guilty. When one did, I felt angry, like my nervous system had been trained to wait for her. A few days later, my father said he was clearing out the garage, wanted all 4 daughters to come collect their old stuff. To dodge another blow-up, my older sister grabbed my boxes herself and brought them to her apartment. That's where we found the photo of the car. Ordinary used car. Faded, ugly. I'd helped pay for it as a teenager, working evenings and weekends. My parents had told me it would be mine, for work and community college. Then my younger sister got her license, and suddenly she needed it more. I'd protested. My mother told me to share because I was more responsible, could plan around the bus schedule. My sister ended up using the car every day. I kept working to help cover the insurance. Hadn't thought about that in years. Then, my older sister found a school folder with a note from my mother inside. I'd been 13. My younger sister had gotten into trouble at school after provoking another student. The note said I needed to be the example. Help, keep peace at home. My older sister sat beside me on the floor. Do you remember when I suggested family therapy? I did. We'd gone to a few sessions years back, after I moved out during another fight. My mother spent most of those appointments explaining why I should come home. Whenever the counselor brought up favoritism, she steered the conversation back to my anger. She never actually wanted to understand. She wanted a professional to convince you to cooperate. My older sister said, I held the old note and suddenly felt ridiculous for being surprised by anything happening now. She's still asking me to do the exact same thing, just change the reason. I used to think my father was different because he was quieter. He hugged me after fights, sometimes apologized privately for my mother's tone. I mistook his discomfort for opposition, still had to learn the difference. My mother went after my boyfriend at work a week later, got the address from my father, told him she wanted to send an apology, and because he still believed every problem could be fixed with a gentler tone, he handed it over. She waited in the parking lot near the end of his shift. He saw her by his car and turned straight toward the building. She called his name, followed him. He told her he wouldn't talk without me there. She demanded to know why he was keeping me from my sister. I'm not doing this, he said. She stepped in front of him. He went around her. Then she grabbed his arm. Not dramatic, not a movie scene, just a furious woman gripping someone hard enough to stop him walking away, but that ordinary kind of aggression can still cross a line. He pulled back, told her to let go. She tightened her grip, said he would listen to her. A security guard saw the argument and stepped in. By the time the guard pulled them apart, my boyfriend had a small scratch on his arm and a handful of co-workers watching through the lobby windows. Security walked my mother off the property. The company documented the incident and told her she couldn't come back. When he called me, his voice had that flat quality it got when he was more upset than he wanted to admit. He wasn't hurt in any real way. Didn't need medical care. What got to him was the humiliation, having to explain to his supervisor why his future mother-in-law had shown up and grabbed him in a parking lot. His supervisor was understanding, but made it clear another incident would become a workplace problem. I drove over after his shift. He sat in the passenger seat while I stared at the red mark on his arm. "I'm so sorry," I said. He looked out the window. "I need this to stop." "I know. No, I mean completely. Not less often. Not after the wedding. Stop." I knew he was right. I also felt cornered, which was unfair, since he'd been the one actually cornered by my mother in a parking lot. That night, I opened the photo I'd taken of the clinic transfer notice and submitted an application. Didn't tell anyone but him. Applying didn't mean accepting, but it gave me the first real sense that we had a way out. Then, I called my father. Expected him to be horrified. Expected one clear sentence saying my mother had gone too far. That's all I wanted. One sentence. Instead, after I explained everything, he sighed and asked, "What can you do to calm your mother down?" I genuinely thought I'd misheard him. "What can I do?" She grabbed him, at his job. "I know, and she shouldn't have done that." The relief lasted less than a second. "But if you could let this go, find some way to include your sister, maybe she'd stop reacting." I closed my eyes. There are moments a relationship changes without anyone yelling. Something just becomes impossible to pretend anymore. My father wasn't trapped between us. He'd picked a side years ago. His side was whatever kept my mother's anger pointed away from him. She assaulted my fiancé at work. That word's going to make everything worse. The action made everything worse. People are already talking. This is a public family issue now. It became public when she showed up in a parking lot. He kept asking me to think about the consequences. He meant the consequences for my mother. He always did. I remembered the car, the note, all those therapy sessions, every private apology he'd given me after failing to defend me in public. "You don't protect me," I said. "That's not fair. You comfort me after she hurts me, then ask me to make it easier for her to do it again." He went quiet. I waited for him to deny it. He didn't. Instead, he said, "She's your mother." That sentence ended something in me. "And I'm your daughter." We hung up without resolving anything. A few days later, I called them both. My boyfriend offered to sit beside me, but I wanted to do it alone. I stood in our bedroom with the door closed and my notes open, because I knew my mother would talk over me until I forgot what I meant to say. I told her I was ending contact indefinitely. No calls, no visits, no messages through relatives, no contact with my boyfriend. I told my father I'd accept limited contact only if he stopped acting as her messenger. My mother cried immediately, asked how I could do this before my wedding, said she'd sacrificed everything for me, said I was punishing her for caring too much. Then she flipped to anger, accused my boyfriend of isolating me. I read from my notes when my voice started shaking. "This is my decision. You came to my home after I set a boundary, then you went to his workplace and put your hands on him. I'm not debating whether that was okay." My father asked if we could all take a week to cool down. "No," I said. "We've taken years." The call ended with my mother sobbing and my father telling me I'd regret this. Maybe he expected that sentence to scare me. It did. I still ended the call. My boyfriend and I sent one message to the relatives still invited. We said the venue had changed, and only people who got direct confirmation would receive the location. We didn't explain every family detail, didn't defend ourselves, stopped trying to make the family look united. Afterward, I turned off my phone and cried on the bathroom floor. Relief and grief can exist in the same body. I felt lighter because the decision was finally clear, and devastated because clarity didn't produce the mother I actually wanted. I kept reaching for my phone, then remembering there was nothing on it I wanted to read. Some relatives sent support. A few admitted they hadn't known the full story. Others went quiet. One aunt sent a long message about how life is short, which is apparently what people say when they want you to tolerate behavior they'd never accept from a stranger. Then, my younger sister did something I didn't expect. She posted in the family group that her decision to skip the wedding had always been hers alone, told everyone to stop using her name to justify a boycott, said our mother had crossed a line going to my boyfriend's workplace and had no right to claim she was defending her. My mother fired back several furious messages. My sister answered once. "You weren't defending me. You were using me." That ended the public argument. A few days later, my sister asked to meet outside my building. I almost said no. Then I went down anyway. Curiosity beats dignity, more often than I'd like to admit. She stood near the entrance, hands shoved in her coat pockets. "I should have said it sooner," she said. I waited. She looked uncomfortable. Good. I'd been uncomfortable for months. "I let Mom speak for me because part of me liked that she was angry at you." she admitted. I was still jealous, but I never asked her to go after him, and I never wanted everyone to skip the wedding. Why didn't you correct her? Because correcting her would mean admitting I was wrong too. Probably the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. She didn't ask for instant forgiveness, didn't promise we'd get close. She said she'd turned rejection into competition, and our mother had used that competition exactly the way she always used our differences. I gave her the excuse. She didn't need one. No, I said, but I gave her a convenient one. I thanked her for speaking up publicly. Felt strange thanking someone for stopping a disaster she'd helped start, but responsibility doesn't stop mattering just because it shows up late. We parted without hugging. The wedding happened in a simple event room owned by my boyfriend's aunt. We borrowed decorations, trimmed the guest list again, served food from a local caterer instead of the formal dinner we'd originally planned. I'd spent months mourning the bigger wedding. On the actual day, the smaller room felt safer. My father came alone. He waited near the entrance before the ceremony and told me my mother had written a letter. My whole body tensed. She asked me to bring it, he said. I told her I'd ask whether you wanted it first. First time he'd respected a boundary, before violating it. I don't want it. He nodded. Okay. He didn't say she'd worked hard on it, didn't ask me to reconsider, didn't walk back to the car and return with the envelope anyway. Small act. I refused to turn it into proof that everything had changed. Still, I noticed it. My younger sister didn't come. She sent a short message wishing us happiness, said no reply was necessary. I read it once, put my phone away. During the ceremony, I looked at the first row. My older sister was crying openly. My quiet sister held her hand. My father sat beside them. The empty space where my mother might have been was obvious, but it didn't swallow the room. My husband squeezed my fingers when my voice shook. Nothing dramatic happened. No one interrupted. No one showed up at the door. The cake leaned slightly to one side. The music cut out for a few seconds, and one kid dropped a cup during the vows. Imperfect, peaceful. That was enough. A few days after the wedding, the clinic offered me the transfer. My husband and I sat at the same kitchen table where we'd once fought about postponing. This time, we looked at the numbers together before either of us made it emotional. Moving would be expensive. The lost venue deposit had already eaten into our savings. He'd have to quit his job, start over somewhere new. The new city was far enough for real distance, close enough that we could still see my sisters. We said yes. The move wasn't some magical escape. Our new apartment was smaller. For a few weeks, my husband had no steady work, took whatever temp maintenance jobs he could find. I worried about money constantly, snapped at him once for buying takeout after a long day, then apologized because the real problem was that I was scared. He eventually landed a local maintenance job. I settled into the new clinic, where nobody knew my family history, and the biggest daily emergency was usually a scheduling error. Months later, a new account on a social app messaged me. Barely any information on the profile, but the message mentioned details only my mother would know. Said she had a right to see photos from her own daughter's wedding. I didn't reply. Blocked the account. My younger sister later told me she'd started therapy. Said she was trying to understand why getting rejected by one man had made her feel like she had to defeat me. She didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't ask me to respond. I left the message unanswered for weeks. Then I wrote, I hope therapy helps. That was all. Eventually, we started exchanging occasional messages, a birthday, a holiday, a comment about our quiet sister's new apartment. We didn't become best friends. I didn't hand her access to my life just because she'd shown one moment of accountability. Trust came back in teaspoons, not buckets. My contact with my father stayed limited. We talked on important dates. Sometimes he'd start to bring up my mother, then catch himself. Other times he didn't, and I ended the call. No dramatic reconciliation, just a different pattern because I finally enforced one. My older and quiet sisters visited us. My husband stayed cautious around my father, had no contact with my mother at all. I didn't push him to forgive anything. People sometimes ask if I feel guilty my mother missed my wedding. Of course I do. That's the ugly part nobody likes to admit. You can know a boundary is necessary and still feel guilty holding it. You can love someone and still refuse them access. You can miss the mother you wanted while avoiding the mother you actually have. I feel guilty about pushing my sister too. Embarrassed that I kept hoping my father would find some courage if I just explained things perfectly enough. I regret some of what I said to my husband when I mistook his financial caution for rejection. I wasn't calm or wise or dignified through most of this, but I stopped volunteering myself as the family shock absorber. My mother had spent years teaching everyone that my pain was manageable and my sister's pain was an emergency. My father helped by asking me to absorb whatever kept the house quiet. My younger sister learned that humiliation could be converted into attention if she made it loud enough, and I learned to confuse endurance with maturity. Moving didn't fix all of that. Marriage didn't either. What changed was smaller, less cinematic. When my phone lights up with an unknown account, I don't spiral before blocking it. When my father asks me to reconsider something on my mother's behalf, I end the conversation. When my sister says she's working on herself, I let her work without turning myself into the reward. And when my husband asks if I'm okay, I try to actually answer instead of saying I'm fine with the face of a woman planning to move into the woods. We built a life that's ordinary in the best possible way. Bills on the counter, grocery lists, arguments about laundry, calls with my sisters, quiet weekends, nobody kneeling in front of somebody else's fiancé, nobody waiting in a workplace parking lot. There are still days I want a cleaner ending. I want my mother to call.